Welcome back. We have with us in the studio Jim Jenson. He's from the Bushels Cavern in Mountain Village 1890, and that's located over
Where?
in the
Over in Bushels,
yeah,
Arkansas.
Yeah,
Right.
welcome to the show, Jim.
Yeah,
Well, thank you
welcome.
very much. I'm
Yeah.
glad to be here, sir.
Yeah. It's kind of a hidden treasure over there. Not a lot of people.
I'm not aware of it.
Yeah.
Right, right. If my running sort of gag is if I had a dollar every time somebody said,
Yeah.
I never knew you were
Yeah.
here, I would be a rich man. 20 years after having been associated with the Caverns and Mountain Village, if I had a penny for every time somebody said, I don't know where, I've never been there, I would be a rich man.
Yeah,
A lot of people don't know about it.
Well, it's a little bit off the beaten path. It's not on 412, so you have to go up toward Bushels and Lakeview.
You have to know that to go there.
Yeah.
You have to want to go there.
Yeah. And for people that are watching the show that maybe want to take a day trip,
Right.
are there accommodations there and restaurants and
Yes,
to satisfy all that?
Yes, Bushels has a number of restaurants, 3 or 4 good restaurants, accommodations, many accommodations from mom and pop type of places
Yeah.
to somewhat larger type of places. Yeah. So there's always places to stay and places to eat and other recreational activities because we have both the river and we have the lake
yeah.
and the dam and so forth and so on. So it's a perfect place to come and spend the day, and then you can spend maybe 3 or 4 hours or 2 hours with us, whatever your time allows. And it is just a perfect sort of a one-day destination for a lot of people.
So what's there? I mean, you know, what?
Well, at Bushels Caverns in Mountain Village 1890, we obviously have the Bushels Caverns, and then we have what we call Mountain Village 1890. Mountain Village 1890 and Bushels Caverns were established way back in 1960 by an attorney by the name of Mr. Roy Danuser. Mm-hmm. And he and his wife had a love of history, and that was right after the dam was opened in 1953 and Bushels was just starting to come into its own. So Mr. Danuser said, you know, there may be a money-making opportunity here, plus he combined his love of history along with his wife's, and they decided to buy the property that Bushels Cavern is on, and travel throughout Arkansas in the late 1950s and find older buildings that they may be able to buy, bring to the grounds where we sit now, and make a little town, and that's what Mountain Village is.
Now, when you talked about going to other places and finding these buildings, did they tear them down or they moved them whole?
No, well, we have about 6 or 7 buildings. Most of those buildings, they were able to move in one piece. Now, I'm not counting a chimney or a porch or something like that. They were all moved by the Batesville Moving Company. But there is one exception, and that was what we today called the Martin House, which we're sort of discovering that it wasn't probably the Martin House, it's probably more accurately called the Jones House. And that came from a little bit south of where we are now in Jasper, outside of Jasper, Arkansas. It was at the end of what is now Irby Trail down there, or the Irby Cemetery.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we have pictures of it. It was just a shell of a place, but they were still able to move all these buildings there and then put them up and establish them.
And when people come to the Mountain Village 1890, they see there's a church, and then there's a general store, and what other buildings are there?
Well, we've got the church, the general store. We have the church came from Blue Eye, Missouri.
Okay.
The general store came from a place called Beaufort, Arkansas, which is between Gassville.
Here we are.
Yeah, there's the general store. That came from between Beaufort, which is between sort of Mountain Home and Flippin back in that area. We also, at one point, had an old schoolhouse. Unfortunately, that burnt down in 2004.
Okay.
Also, we have a bank, and it was the last wooden structure in the state of Arkansas, and that came from Ash Flat, Arkansas. We have what we call Colonel Jordan's house. It is spelled Jordan. That's the bank. But we have what we call, that's where you would arrive at Bushels Caverns right there. That's our depot. Basically on the right is where the old depot, where the windows are sort of sticking out, and to the right, that is where, that is the old train depot, and that came from Payette, Arkansas.
Okay.
Cool.
And we sort of cheated. It was built in 1907 or 1913, somewhere right around in there. but we have the old charcoal burning stove in there, and we have an old bench that actually sat in the depot. So it's even if you're just going to come and sit in our gift shop,
Yeah.
you can sit on the old
Okay.
bench and feel the past.
So when people come, can they go inside the buildings, or do they have to?
Some of them right now we're busy trying to renovate them and so forth and so on, so they can't go in all the buildings all the time. But
You can look in and
when they
and
can
see.
look in the windows, and most of the time right now we have the general store open, we have the bank I believe is open, and the church is open.
Is there any money in the bank?
No, that's long ago been stolen. Okay.
Okay.
That's that long ago, and whoever operated the safe in the general store, that's blown up. So that whoever
Okay.
took that's
Okay.
gone.
That's
that
gone,
money
too.
ended up in Missouri. I don't want to know what happened to the people that took it. It wasn't a good ending, I don't think.
That's funny.
But
when the cave is on the site too.
the cave is
Let's
on the
talk a
same
little bit
piece
about
of property.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, the cave is about 350 million years old. I always sort of joke it's almost as old as I am, but it is a real old cave. It is what we call, that's our beautiful cave right there. It is what we call a living cavern, which means there are growing rocks in the cave. The growing rocks are all called formations, and then how they form, that gives you the different names. The names.
Now
that most
the
people
two are stalactites and stalagmites, and then when they touch, what's that called?
A
Do you know?
column.
Column.
A column.
A column.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, look how pretty.
Yep.
So and it takes thousands of years for it to make a column.
I would even say further than that.
Yeah, okay.
Thousands and thousands and thousands
Okay,
of years to
okay.
make a column. It's awfully hard to say exactly how long it takes something to grow because there's all kinds of variables that go into that. But
And there's tours obviously available.
tours. That right now, that's really what we emphasize, especially in these hot days. I know
Yeah.
it's cooled off in the last couple of days, but we've had some pretty hot weather here
Yeah.
in June. And I like to call ourselves the coolest place in town because it does maintain a constant temperature of about 59 degrees.
That's
Therefore,
cool. That's nice.
if you want to go in the cave in the wintertime, which unfortunately we're not open, you can get warm. Or this next coming weekend when the temperatures are supposed to go up a little bit, well, I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
it's nice and cool in there.
Okay.
Yep.
Now Bushels Caverns is different than a lot of other ones because the other ones talk about cathedral domes and that
Right.
kind of. This is a different kind of
A
cave.
little bit different cave, and we would be described more as what we would call a tunnel cave. Now that's not to say that you're going through a small
Right, yeah,
tunnel
yeah,
and you're
yeah.
going to be claustrophobic, but we were basically at one point an underground stream or an underground river, and that's what took away all the stuff. All the softer material, mostly limestone, and then eventually, as whatever water was feeding it, sort of carved itself deeper into
Yeah.
the ground. Then our cave sort of emptied of the water, and that's what
So
became
you
the
got a
cave.
little passageway.
It's sort of a passageway type of thing,
Yeah.
and we do have a room that we call the cathedral room,
Okay.
and that would be, it's not a big, huge room, but it is our upper chamber of the room, and that's where the older formation growth would take place.
Now, has all of the cavern been explored, or is there other? Is that
Yeah.
developing?
Anywhere as a human could go, we have crawled and,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
maneuvered and shimmied and done all that kind of stuff. Now, can one of our nice wildlife salamanders go further? Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
But
okay.
can we as human beings? No.
Okay.
We've been basically everywhere.
Okay. Oh,
Yep.
that's good.
How
That's good.
interesting.
That is
Yep.
very interesting.
It is.
Well, I would recommend people do that. I want to do that one weekend.
It's really neat. We're open now 7 days a week. We're open at 10 o'clock in the morning. We run all the way through 5 o'clock in the afternoon with our last cavern tour somewhere a little bit after 4 o'clock because we do
Yeah.
close at 5.
Yeah.
And you don't need reservations. You just show up. And again, during our busy season, the longest you'd have to wait for a tour would be about a half an hour. And there's plenty of other things to see,
Okay.
as we mentioned.
Right.
The buildings
Right.
that we talked about. Our gift shop is quite extensive. All kinds of rocks and gems and T-shirts and
Okay.
anything that you.
You're wearing one right there.
Yeah,
I
this
am.
is
I
yeah.
am wearing one.
Yeah, that's a
This
nice
is
one.
our sort of our plain one. We've got sort of modern. We have the tie-dye ones also, if
Yeah.
that happens to be.
Now, do you have? Are you planning any summer events?
We have
in
we have
conjunction with
we have
other
a
things
few
going on?
coming up. Nothing that's really solid in stone yet.
Yeah.
But we like to have some activities during the summer and especially maybe towards the end of summer and into September,
Yeah.
where it gets a little bit cooler and some of
Yeah,
our
yeah.
more the older residents of Bull Shoals may want to get out in the,
Sure.
out in the weather more than
Yeah.
they would the sun.
Yeah, I heard that the movie company's coming in September maybe
That's
to do a.
from what I understand, yeah. And I don't know much about it, so I don't want to
Yeah.
opine on it, but some sort of a movie that all I know it has to do with zombies. That's all I know.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah. And I don't know anything other than that. But yeah,
Okay.
that's supposed to come in
But
September.
if our viewers have any questions, I guess they can call you directly.
They can call directly. Our telephone number at the cave would be 870-445-7177. And if for some reason nobody answers the phone, that means we're busy and there's an answering machine, and we very promptly answer that answering machine.
All right.
Perfect.
Well, Jim, thanks so much
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Well,
Very
you're
nice to
welcome.
meet you.
Is there
You're
anything
welcome.
else we've forgotten?
No,
or-
I don't really think so. Other than we just like everybody to come out from both near and far. And it is it's a perfect an hour drive here from from Harrison, and half a day, and they get to see
Sure,
a little
yeah.
bit about
Yeah.
the history.
And if you want to stay in Harrison, it's a short drive over to
Right,
Bull
it-
Shoals.
yes,
And,
yep.
and if you want to rent a party barge,
Yep,
they're
over
available
at
right
the
there at
Bull
the
Shoals
docks.
boat dock,
Yeah,
yep.
there's a lot to do.
And the kids are also impressed. You would think that the small children would, oh, what do I want to go look
Yeah,
at an older
okay.
building for? But after they go and they look at the buildings, the parents come up to me and they go, gee, Jim, you know what? I didn't think my kids would like that, but they were so impressed and they asked so many questions
Good.
that they haven't asked that many questions since
Yeah.
sliced bread, as my mom would have
Yeah,
said, or something
yeah.
like that. So it really is neat for both the kids and younger parents and parents today to realize
Yeah.
what significance is in how they were built, how
Sure.
structures
Yeah.
were built back then.
What
You
a-
can tell
what a
by
great-
looking around your studios here, how neat the older architecture was,
Yeah.
and how they utilized the weather and stuff into their architecture.
Awesome, awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, you're
thank
welcome.
Jim.
You're welcome.
Get out and visit the Bushels Cavern and Mountain Village. They're open till, when's your last day of operation? Do you know? What is your schedule
we are
for?
open from about the middle of March all the way through the last weekend after Thanksgiving in November.
Oh,
Whatever
okay.
that weekend would
Okay.
fall, it sort of switches back and forth a little
Okay.
bit.
Okay.
And again, the hours are a little bit reduced in November, but they can always call and we can give them an update on whatever
Okay.
our hours
Okay.
would be.
All right. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's take a break, and when we come back, Bill Ray Lewis is here. He's going to be talking about the Boone County Transparency in Government and some updates on what they're doing. Stay with us.